This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
Chris Robinson is a founding partner of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team and the Executive Vice President of Maxwell Entrepreneur Solutions, where he leads a global team of over 40,000 speakers, coaches, and trainers. John Maxwell has made a tremendous impact on his life over the past 20 years. Initially, Chris started watching John's VHS tapes in the basement of a church. And then as a sales representative for a large vehicle service company, he quickly started using this information and advanced 3 positions in 5 years to a senior sales manager by learning and then applying John's principles. Chris has helped grow that company from 18 employees to over 700. Years later, he became a part of John's team as a certified coach, and he's been instrumental in the development of many of the programs offered by the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team members. And if you know that organization, it impacts people literally all over the world. He's also the author of the groundbreaking book, From Drift to Drive, which reveals how even the most accomplished leaders and visionaries can fall prey to this subtle trap of complacency. And he takes us through this framework to help us reignite our drive and map a renewed course towards extraordinary achievement. But I would say above all these great accomplishments that Chris has on his resume, he is passionate about helping other people grow. He's an amazing family man, and he is selfless in his service to other people. Chris, I am honored to have you on the show. Welcome to the Champion Forum podcast, my friend.
Yeah, man. Great to be on. Excited to be with you, man. And just love our conversations before, this happened and leading up to it, man. I just love being in this growth industry alongside of people like you that are just looking to add value to people, man. There's nothing else on the planet I'd rather do.
Man, it's we definitely share that common ground, and it's a surreal moment. I've been following your journey for a long time. Your leadership has impacted me, through watching you on YouTube videos. And I was on your webinar Tuesday. I told you this. And I spent about an hour on Chris's webinar. I'm still a student, like we all need to be. Chris has a lot to offer. He's a guy that is going where I want to go. And one of the things that Chris said on this webinar, there was amazing things on this. And we may jump into this, Chris, and if we do, just put me on ice. But he said this quote that literally stopped me in my tracks and needed to hear it. He said, "Busyness is the new stupid." Chris, can you tell us more about that quote? Because I wrote that down. I might get that framed on the wall, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the society that we live in right now, and why a lot of people aren't accomplishing what they want to in their life is because they're so busy. And if we don't take time to really ask ourselves the question, what are we accomplishing versus what are we doing, we'll end up just doing super busy stuff and never getting to where we want to go. In fact, in the book, I talk about it in the phrase that we termed called complacency myopia. Now, there's 2 types of complacency that we talk about in the book, complacency myopia and complacency hyperopia. Now, myopia is you're that person that's really busy. It's the optometry term for nearsighted. It means that you are just busy all day long. You've got to-do lists, but one week it's on one topic, one week it's on another, the next week it's on another. You're doing this, you're doing that, but you have no idea where you're going. And then there is complacency hyperopia, and which that's the optometry term for farsightedness. And so those people, Jeff, they've got the big grand vision and they see this vast place that they want to go, but they can't see the first step in front of them. And as life continues to happen and they get busy, their vision gets blocked and they get stuck in their current circumstance. So our goal is to have that 2020 vision so that we can know what steps we need to take now, but know where we're going, and making sure that we're not just busy, but we're accomplishing things. And I often ask people to take a look at, a real simple test of, are you caught in that busyness? is take a look at your goal that you set on January 1st, because I would imagine that most listeners to this podcast are goal setters. And if they go back, if they can find them, somewhere underneath the pile of all the stuff of busy, if you can find those goals from just 6 months ago, pull those things back out. And then I want you to pull up your to-do list from the last couple days. And what happens all the time, Jeff, when I have people do this, is their to-do list looks crazy in comparison to where they said they wanted to go at the beginning of the year. And so we don't want to just be busy, and we don't want to just do things. We want to accomplish things. And so let's not be busy, because that is the new stupid.
Man, oh man. I will tell you this. I'm not your legal counsel by any stretch, but you need to trademark that quote, busyness is the new stupid, because you got some hats and T-shirts and whatnot to be sold with that quote. And listen, I had a kind of a front row seat to get a little better understanding of the book and the content, and we're certainly going to dive into that. But Chris, your journey, to the book launch is pretty amazing as well. And, we all know the saying, nobody gets dropped off at the top of the mountain. You've accomplished amazing things. You've been in front of presidents of countries and dignitaries and have spoken all over the world. For the listener that's in the climb, can you tell us a little bit about your background? I mean, was it that when you were 10 years old that you knew you would be in front of, dignitaries and traveling the world with John Maxwell? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
No. I love the way that Dave Ramsey says it. I really think about my life as me being a turtle on a fence post. Somebody had to put them there, right? because nowhere in my imagination did I believe that I would be doing what I'm doing today, impacting the people that I impact, having the opportunities that I have. So I'm living well beyond any dreams or aspirations that I had as a kid. In fact, I even talk about it in the book. I realistically thought that by age 21, 22, I was going to either be dead or in jail. Those were the two paths. I wasn't a terrible kid, but I just really couldn't see beyond that. And and it came to the point to where at the age of 21, I had 2 DUIs, and I actually was in front of a judge, and the judge said, Chris, I'm going to do something. And he goes, I'm going to take a chance here. He says, you're not a dumb kid, because at that time I had just recently passed the Series 7 license for a financial advisor. So I was a licensed stockbroker, and even though I had got kicked out of college 6 times, I had got an internship. I passed the Series 7 test, and the judge says, this isn't a test that full-grown adults pass on a daily basis, so you can't be that stupid of a kid. He says, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you everything that I possibly can to penalize you except for jail. He goes, I don't think you belong in jail. He goes, but I'm going to give you everything you can. So what that meant, Jeff, that meant I had to go to SATOP classes. That meant I had to go to AA. That meant I had to have a blow tube on my car. That meant that I had to pay fines. That meant that I had to do community service. Everything that he could possibly do, he gave to me. And that was a turning point moment. I wish I could tell you that I had stopped right there, but I didn't. After that, I still continued to drink for several more months, but it was another turning point moment where my girlfriend, now wife at the time for 22 years now, asked me a question when we were drinking out at a Halloween party one night. She said, Chris, can you imagine what life could be like without alcohol in it? And I remember this clarity that I had never seen or felt before, but it was good. Now, in that moment, again, another defining moment, another clear shot. But what happened was, as soon as we pull out of that clubhouse that night, we get pulled over by police officers. Now, she was driving, I was not, but I was on probation, so there was no way that I was supposed to be in a car with the person drinking nor drinking, and I'm sitting on the curb with my hands behind my back in handcuffs, and over the phone, over the intercom, my girlfriend's sister had a friend that was a police officer that heard my girlfriend's name over the intercom and said, "Hey, let them go. Let them get a ride home." Now, after that, I finally got the wake up call and said, "Whoa, something's got to change." And Jeff, I can tell you, it's been since October of 2001 since I've had a single drop of alcohol. One of the best decisions that I made, and you know, that was really the start of going, okay, something's got to change. And then from there, we end up going to a local church and getting involved in church. And that's where I was introduced to personal growth and development. And because I was into that, that's what opened up the doors for me to get the job at a young age to go work inside of this place that opened up a phenomenal income opportunity to me. And so I fell in love with personal growth and development and helping people through that job and through the trainings that I was getting at the church. And man, I wanted to add value to people, and I wanted to go, man, if I could spend 10% of, if I could spend 100% of my time, my friend Sherry Riley says this. She says, what if you can spend 100% of your time on the 10% that you love? And I go, oh my goodness. What if I could spend 100% of my time adding value to people by speaking, coaching, training, and then I got on fire for doing that. And man, I haven't looked back since.
Man, that's beautiful. And, when we get to have a coffee together, it's going to amaze you at how closely our stories align. It is uncanny, actually. Man, I'm glad that you made those choices, because here's what I know about you, Chris, is that not only has it made your life better, but I think about the tens of thousands of people that you've impacted that maybe otherwise would have never been touched with your gift.
Correct.
Had you not
Correct.
made those hard decisions. And I kind of sold you out when I told him you were watching VHS tapes, but here's the deal. Chris has been on the journey, not just since yesterday. He's been committed to this for a long time, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
grateful. We're grateful for that, Chris. So thank you. I love the title of the book, but I got to tell you, this subtitle is one that'll stop you in your tracks. A High Achiever's Guide to Breaking the Chains of Complacency. This speaks to the high achiever. This speaks to the senior leader. This speaks to the person that's, racking up the shelf with the trophies. This complacency that can happen through that. And an amazing title, arguably a more amazing subtitle that caught my attention. Chris, what led you to write the book? What led you to get it to the world right now?
Yeah, initially, I did not set out to actually write this book. This book, I was hanging out with Rory Vaden, who you know well, and I was just there to I was there to learn about the process for our publishing company with Maxwell Leadership, and just kind of being a fly on the wall. And they said, well, Chris, you should really be writing a book. And I said, no, because I got a couple different audiences. I really just want to focus on delivering stuff for Maxwell Leadership members, and but I don't want to write a book for that. And then I have another audience of leaders that I speak for, but I don't really just want to focus on building my brand right now. And I want something that could serve both the member and leaders in all communities. And they said, well, what problem would you want to solve for people? Now, initially I was thinking, well, I really want to solve underperformance, because I'm an action guy. I love action. I love results. I love getting stuff done. And then we began to talk about it. We began to brainstorm as a group. And, the question was asked, well, what's the root cause of underperformance? And we looked at a number of different things, and we landed on the word complacency. And it hit like a thunderbolt in my stomach, and going, oh my goodness, underperformance is always rooted in complacency. And so they said, well, okay, complacency is the problem that you want to solve, but how have you solved that in your life? And I began to think about every single thing that I have achieved in life, every single accolade or accomplishment, and I really followed the same process every single time. Whether it was becoming a speaker and a coach, whether it was starting a business, whether it was buying multifamily real estate, whether it was becoming a certified pickleball teaching pro. Okay. I followed the same process. And, it's really a growth. It's really a growth just guide to just help you continue growing, to help find those places of complacency, but then also help you get into a cycle to get through that. And so when I sat down on the bench the next day waiting for an Uber, the 7-step framework, as I looked at and was really contemplating how did I do this, the framework came to me within minutes. I go back in, I write on the whiteboard, and they're like, this is it. Everybody's like, I got goosebumps. This is it. And so that's what we begin to go to work on writing this book and really fleshing out this process with practical application tools and resources for people, not just to hear the steps, but how do I actually apply this to my life?
Well, listen, I mean, it's a now book. And, as, I was on the webinar, I got to learn a little bit. I'm listening to what you're saying now. I'm thinking of my own journey.
Yeah.
Nobody wakes up saying, today's the day I'm going to become complacent.
Right.
I mean, nobody's setting out to do it, but, these hard chargers, these perfectionists, these, win at all cost, kind of mentalities, I'm looking back on my journey now, and I'm thinking of very specific times that this started to play out, and maybe why, overconfidence, all the other things. But I want to hear from you. What does that look like? What does drifting look like for high achievers, and how can they recognize that maybe they're stuck in it when otherwise it might be a blind spot? Like, what are you seeing? Like, what would you say that drifting is for the high achiever?
Right. Yeah. Well, first, you have to be able to recognize it. And we have an assessment for that. So there's an assessment in the book and online that you can take to really kind of contemplate, take some time to think about where you might have some complacency in your life. Now, the easiest places to look for it is the places that you're really good. The places that you're really good, because let's just say that you're a zero at a skill set, you learn something, you develop in it, and you go hard. You are working to develop this skill set, and what happens is we get to about an 8. If we're going from a scale of 0 to 10, we get to about an 8, and then it's all right. That's good enough, right? But in order to get to that other 20%, it's actually going to take about another 80% more work to pick up that 20%. And quite frankly, we just say our good is good enough. And we kind of rest on it. Now, this happened to me, and I realized it in a major place in my life that I've dedicated my life to. I was caught drifting as a communicator. Now, I speak every single week without fail and have done so for the past decade, whether it's webinars, whether it's podcasts, whether it's teaching online, whether it's speaking live at an event. Every single week I speak. And so there was an event that I went to with John Maxwell on the other side of the world in Cambodia, and I went to go speak at this event. A lot of things went wrong, and at the end of it, a lot of average ears as communicators, they came up and they did the thing. Jeff, oh, Chris, it was so great. It was so incredible. And yeah, I passed the average ear. I pleased the crowd. But then I went to go ask John Maxwell, the number one communicator, one of the top communicators on the planet, one of the top 1% of the 1%. I said, John, give me some feedback. What'd you hear? How'd I do up there today? And oh man, he gave me a list of all these different things. And there were other people at the table and they gave me a list of things. And I'm just going, oh my goodness. But what happened when I looked at the list, Jeff, there was nothing that was brand new. There was nothing on there that I hadn't done in the past that I didn't know. But what happened was I did not prepare the way that I did years before. I had prepared a lot greater to go speak for a spaghetti dinner at a Rotary Club, a decade ago. I spent more time preparing for that than I did to go speak in front of 2,500 people on the other side of the planet. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm in a drift. I'm drifting right now. And so it can happen with what we're good at. It can happen in areas that we don't pay attention to. It happens in the area of our comfort, where things are just comfortable and we don't have to push any more effort. It just kind of goes and goes on its own. It's automatic thinking without intentional thinking.
Man, this is so powerful because, you said I was pleasing average ears. And man, does this ring. This is like saying, get over all the trophies, get over all the Leader of the Year awards, because those can drive you right into complacency and not preparing, because this muscle memory starts kicking in, right? That is so powerful. And I'm thinking of, where this, how complacency can start becoming a mask, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, when you're telling this story about you with John in Cambodia, big stage, by the way, but I'm thinking about my own life. And I've coached people, you've coached hundreds of people who they got all the trophies, but they feel unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is that this success that we high achievers obtain, it often masks complacency? How does that happen?
Well, success, so really what's happening when we're talking about unfulfillment. So complacency is one thing, and that's just saying, hey, you've been given a gift, you're good at something, you can go and develop it more. So success is one thing, and we often equate success with things and titles and awards. But to make a big transition, and it's a complete other topic, is while it's not fulfilling, is because it's not of significance. And so you can achieve all the things of the world, but what you're really seeking is not success. You're really seeking significance. And the difference between success and significance is great. Success is about what I can do and what I can achieve and what I've done, but significance is about what you have done with and for others and can help them do. And that's a lot different than success. And that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother book.
Book 2, book 3, let's go.
Because that is a whole nother level. And I remember being in Guatemala with John Maxwell the very first time. Again, I was in the president of Guatemala's palace in 2013. This is wild. I'm just a turtle on a fence post, Jeff. Just a turtle on a fence post. Don't know how I got there, right? And I'm there, and he said, hey, John Maxwell said this. He says, once you taste significance, success will never taste the same again. And I mean, oh my goodness, I just hunger for significance because that is lasting. Success, that stuff breaks down. I mean, yeah, sure, the cars, the houses, that stuff requires maintenance. It requires you to maintain it. It requires for you to do it. That stuff fades away. It's shiny for a moment, but significance, man, that lasts a lifetime. I'm after that.
Man, that's staying power. Once you taste significance, success will never feel the same. Man, that is for somebody.
Yeah.
That is powerful. And so let's talk about it, because one thing is to identify it, and then do something about it. So you have this drift moment.
Yeah.
How did you shift that back into overdrive? What did you do, Chris?
Well, the first step of making that shift is clarity. It's clarity. Oftentimes we're in a drift because we simply don't know what we want. And so, our feeds are sending us stuff all day long. And, subconsciously we're saying, well, I want this or I want that. And it may not be what you actually want. And so it's just really simple. Just take a sheet of paper just like this one. Just ask a simple question. What do I want? What do I want? And that simple question alone and a blank sheet of paper, that puts out all the clutter, all the other stuff, because once you get crystal clear on what it is that you want, you've got it every single time. Jeff, you saw that sport coat one day in the store, online, you said, ooh, I want that. Now, you may not have had the money at the moment, you may not have had the time to get it, but man, it sat in your mind, and what happened was you saw where you were going to wear it, you saw the shirt you were going to wear it with, you saw the pants you're going to wear it with. I might wear it to this place. Why? Because you were crystal clear on what it is that you wanted. And so the first step in making that shift is simply pausing to get clear on what it is that you want. And that's the first step that you have to take in order to shift and begin to make that direction change.
Man, that's beautiful. You think about how simple that question is. What is it that I want? I wonder how many people have really spent time with themselves out of the busyness busyness is the new stupid, really thought about this question. Because if you want real clarity, It's answering that question. I remember I saw a master sculptor once. You know, he would sculpt out of like wood blocks with a penknife, and the somebody interviewing him asked the question, "How is it that you know exactly what cuts to make?" And they were looking at a tree that he carved by hand out of a block of wood, and he said, "For me, it's easy. When people see that block of wood, they see a block of wood. I see a tree." Wow. I just cut out everything that's not a tree, and I get the end result.
Wow! Yeah.
And I thought, man, that's what you're talking about. But this busyness that happens with all of this, it hurts clarity, but it also brings about this word that we are talking about a lot these days, which is burnout.
Yeah.
But you use a different word I've heard you talk about, which is underliving.
Right.
What's the difference, and why is this so dangerous?
Yeah, so burnout is that you're busy and you don't know where you're going. Underliving is understanding that the gap between your good and your potential is great. All right. So we can be good at something, but we have that potential still there. And if we can begin to make those steps towards our potential versus just enough, then now we're going to get results. And then when we're good at stuff, it energizes us. I mean, think about something that you're really bad at that you enjoy. I mean, I can't think of a thing that I'm terrible at that I'm like, yes, let me go do that. You know, you put me to do anything mechanically inclined, and I break out in a sweat. I mean, Jeff, I'm telling you, I've got, my toolkit can fit in my hand. And, you ask me to do anything that requires me to fix anything mechanically, and I'm just sweating. Like, I don't like it. I can't do it. I'm not going to go fix my weakness. But if you give me something that I love, oh my goodness. Hey, I've been doing podcasts all day long. Guess what? I did them all day long yesterday. Guess what I'm doing tomorrow? All day long. Why? Because I love it and I'm good at it. And so when we don't want to get burned out, stop doing what stops you. So I don't cut my grass. I don't fix anything around my house. I mean, you'll be lucky. I mean, I was excited. I changed a couple of light bulbs in the office here the other day. That's my extent. I'm good at that. I'm good at that, right?
Yeah, I feel every piece of that.
But just stop what stops you.
Yeah, it's usually not the load that weighs us down. It's how we carry it, right? Yeah. And I think the load gets heavier when you're doing things that aren't in your gifting.
Right.
It's forcing it, right? And there's not something that I suck at that I love. Right. That's an absolute fact. That is an absolute fact. I love talking to folks like yourself, Chris, who have had breadth of experience. You didn't just get a certificate that said, right. You have been in the foxhole, if you will. Yeah. Executive vice president at Maxwell Leadership. This has put you in front of leaders all over the world. Yeah. Not only on the Maxwell team, which is in excess of 40,000, but also the people that they're leading. And what's that?
58,000.
58,000. Who's counting, right? Yeah. I mean, this is a lot of people. Now, it's safe to say that they're not all equal.
Correct.
They're not all the same. They're all great people. They all have big hearts. They're all pursuing. But what patterns have you seen among leaders all over the world that you've experienced who make lasting impact versus the ones that plateau, or what we're talking about, this complacency? What's the difference between the high impact leader and the ones that plateau and they hit that low ceiling?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is obsessive curiosity. The most successful people that I know are the most curious people that I know. They don't believe that they know it all. They're still learning. They're still growing. I had the opportunity, when was this? I was in Indonesia. 94-year-old bank owner, billionaire, and he was speaking for us that day, and he is grandfather of the president of Maxwell Leadership Indonesia, and 94 years old. And he said that he spends all of his time over the last 8 years studying AI. Now, this is a 94-year-old. Okay, this guy is excited. He's passionate. He was fired up to talk about AI, but it's not the topic that's so much important. It's the fact that still at the age of 94, being a billionaire and still learning and growing and wanting to figure out how to make a difference for generations to come.
What a great way to
Yeah,
not become complacent.
yeah, yeah.
Is always searching for the next thing and being curious and having this positive discontent that says I haven't arrived yet, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's good. You're an amazing family man. I hear you talk about your family a lot. Heard you
Yes.
talk about the 3 home runs recently in the World Series.
Yeah.
You lead on major stages while being an amazing family guy. You know, the question that everybody wants to answer is, how do you lead well at home and in the workplace? How do you balance it? And what advice would you give people for that, Chris?
Yeah, well, I don't think we don't believe in balance. A really great book I read a long time ago by Matthew Kelly. It's called Off Balance. And it's a phenomenal book. It's a phenomenal book. But, I believe in that you got to be here, then you got to be there. There's times and seasons where it's all work. There's times and seasons where there's all family. But it all stems back to an intentional choice that I made very early on. And when I put a stake in the ground to do this, I believe everything else was honored. I made the decision, my wife and I, that I'm going to build a business around my family versus my family around the business. And making that decision up front made it easy to say no to things along the way. Now, it wasn't completely easy because, we're talking about, thousands of dollars in opportunity that I'm letting go to because we got a little league game or because I need to pick up kids from school or drop them off. And so I can't go do this speaking opportunity because somebody's got a gymnastics meet, that day,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And but that was a choice that we made together and intentionally. And I believe that, I'm a person of faith, so I believe that God has honored me putting them first versus putting the business first. I'm not going to sacrifice. I've got 6 kids, man. I've got, triplets. I've got a single. I've got twins, and I wasn't just going to chase the road, in pursuit of this stuff and then not have any type of relationship or any type of, foundation with my kids. So it's that intentional upfront choice makes back end decisions easy.
Back to the tablet and what you write at the top of the
Yeah,
tablet paper.
yeah,
What
that's
is it
correct.
that I want?
Right.
And everything else, it gets a little more clear.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about momentum, Chris, because this came up. I host and moderate an executive mastermind, senior leaders,
Yeah.
founders, and something came up this week, and I told him I was going to be talking to you, and it falls right in line with your book content, is this subject of momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum is hard to get.
Yep.
It's easier to lose.
Yep.
And we've all been in the place of the journey, whether you're an entrepreneur listening, you're a senior executive at a corporation. We've all been in that moment where we just lost momentum. And getting a train going down the track takes a lot of energy, right?
Yeah, it does.
When we lose this momentum, or as you look back on your journey or people you've coached, what's a belief system maybe that a leader has to let go of if they want to regain the momentum? Because there's a lot of practical tools, but what's
Yeah.
a belief system, in your opinion, that we got to let go of to get that train started back up?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to momentum is the leader's responsibility. Momentum is the leader's responsibility. And so if the leader is down, well, how do you expect the rest of the team to be? Okay, so number one, it starts with the leader. So anytime that I go through a dip, all right, and I have an acronym for DIP, which is dark, isolated place. All right, so this is what happens when we're coming down off that high, we're losing momentum. And what we typically want to do is when that momentum is dying, we have what's called a dip and we go into this dark, isolated place. We want to go and isolate to ourselves. We don't want anyone to know about our failures. We're trying to just think on our own. And that's a very, very scary place because you really can't get that momentum back in that dark, isolated place. And so in order to get momentum, you gotta go to the light. And the acronym I use for LIGHT is like-minded individuals getting help together. And so understanding what it takes for me to come out of the dip is, what environments do I need to be in that motivate me? What do I need to be listening to that's going to change and shift my thoughts? Because if I'm down and my thinking's down, well, I need to change what I'm listening to. Because what I'm listening to determines what I think determines the way I feel determines the way I act, and my actions determine my results. And so it all comes back to what we're listening to. And so I've got to get a new input into me whenever I go into the dip. So what am I listening to? What environments do I need to get inside of to kind of lift my spirits? What do I need to be watching? What do I need to be reading? Who do I need to be around? And so once I recognize that dip and that momentum's dying, hey man, I've got to look at all those characteristics just like a science project and go, okay, well, what are the ingredients here for me to get that momentum back? Because if I don't have it, there's no way the team is going to have it. And so to come out of that dip, we got to go towards the light.
Man, that's good. I hope the right person gets to hear what you just said, because we've been there, especially the high achiever.
Yeah.
That we're talking to today. When you lose momentum, you feel like you're losing your life.
Right.
But there are practical things that we can do, and it might not be us jetting back down the track. It might just be we got to get that wheel turning, right?
Yep.
Man, amazing. Before we go, I got a couple of questions more about, maybe your journey, right? What do you wish people knew about your journey that they might not know? I mean, we know Chris Robinson as the amazing communicator. He's on the stage. He makes impact. What do you wish people knew about your journey that they might not know?
I mean, I think just like everybody, like, it's not easy. It's not easy. Nobody's journey is easy, and mine is not any different or special. And I don't have any special communication skill. I don't have any special skills at all if I really think about it. But what I do have that I believe is the secret sauce to anything I did is that it's consistency. It's consistency. It's every single day that ends in day, I do something to move towards my goal, stream, and vision. And what I wish people could see is really, the schedule that I hold, the discipline that I have in reading, my ability to execute a daily schedule between my family and, work and travel. And, if they could see, like, just it is not that I'm like grinding or hustling. It's just because I enjoy all of what I'm doing. And so there's not a grind or a hustle to it. But if they could just see, hey, look, I don't just show up and speak. I work on it. And I've worked on it for years, and I've done it time and time again. I don't just, am able to help people and randomly ask questions. Well, guess what? I've done Q&As every single week for a decade. So can I take impromptu questions? Absolutely. Right? And so just knowing that, hey, it's not an easy path, but it's my path and you have your path. And whatever that is, pursue it, because it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah. You work for 10 years, you become an overnight success, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Last question I have, Chris. If you could go back and have coffee with yourself at any age, what age would you go back to, and what would you tell that version of yourself?
Man, I would probably go back to I'd probably say around age 13, going into the junior high years. And if I could give myself the blueprint and give myself the glimpse of what was to come for me, perhaps I would have gone a little bit different ways. And I don't regret anything that I had did or that I had ran into, but it's what I'm trying to teach my kids today is that, hey, look, everything that you need in life or that you want to pursue in life, it is achievable. But hey, you need these three things. You need knowledge, you need coaching, you need experience, meaning that you have to do something. And that's all wrapped up inside these 7-step framework. And this is what I'm trying to get my kids to live out every single day. So when I speak to myself, what I really think about always is, what do I need to be saying to my kids now to help them go in the right direction?
Yeah, it's a high calling, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
It really is, and a great way to reflect. Is there anything I should have asked that I didn't, or that you want the listener to know?
Not that comes to mind, Jeff. It's always fun chatting with you. It's been great these last two times we've been
Yes.
a chance to connect. I look forward to working with you more and chatting with you more and getting to know you better, man. So thank
Yeah.
you for allowing me to add value to your audience and your people.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on, a pleasure to be connected with you, and obviously forge a friendship, and I'm looking forward to what the future has in store. Hey, everyone, Chris Robinson. Man, thanks so much for being with us, Chris. Before we let you go, tell us, how do we get a copy of this amazing book? How do we,
Yeah,
where do we go? You got some
absolutely.
amazing bonuses, some free
Yeah, we've
content.
got some great bonuses. You can go to Amazon to purchase the book, or any Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, all there. But once you purchase there, go to drifttodrivebook.com, drifttodrivebook.com, and then we've got some great bonuses for you. We've got access to a virtual summit that we're going to be hosting. There is a master class that is a 10-module master class that you're going to get access to. There's a behind-the-scenes video with master coach Valerie Burton, where we talk about the book. So there's a lot of great resources in there that you get, and but check it out at drifttodrivebook.com.
Do not miss that, folks. I was on the webinar this week, and I will tell you this, a great use of time, which you just heard in the last several minutes I was with Chris. Chris, we appreciate you, wishing you the best on this launch and everything you have in the future. To the listener, appreciate you all for tuning in. Remember, the enemy of your next breakthrough, it's not failure, it's comfort. This complacency that we're talking about, it doesn't always scream out to you. It doesn't always shout out to you. Sometimes it whispers, you're doing just fine. But remember, Chris reminded us today that settling, it's the slow death of the significance that he talked about. Significance over success. So here's the challenge. Identify one area where you've maybe been coasting, and you need to reignite to get into the drive. Take one bold step this week to pursue the greatness still in front of you. Grab Chris's book so that you can get the framework so that you can be the leader that you've been called to be. Until next week, keep making big impact in the lives of the people that you're leading and that are counting on you to show up, and never stop turning that pressure into potential.
The Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.